Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to our webinar about our new public cloud, WAW3-1, and about our public services, the differences between different public clouds and other related topics. My name is Marcin Kowalski. I am product manager at CloudFerro. I'm responsible for all the infrastructure as a service products. So products that are related to cloud storage, Kubernetes, and other similar products. And today our agenda is, well, as you said, firstly we will just have a look at the big picture of the architecture of CREODIAS and CloudFerro services, because there are lots of changes there. Then I will talk briefly about the future of our clouds and our services, and what is the roadmap for the near future, or how do we see our public clouds and public services. Then I will briefly just introduce the new billing panel, and because it is essential for using the new cloud to move to the new billing panel for the clients. Then I will try to describe and to show you the differences between the old cloud, the CF2 or WAW3-1 and WAW3-1. Then I will show you the quick manual how to start your loads on WAW3-1, and then I will give you some quick tips and features how we are doing the processing at what our I think are the most important tips, just how to do the processing in a big scale environment, in big scale processing. And just on the end note, there is a webinar in 2 days about the Kubernetes as a service on WAW3-1. If you are interested in it, you should sign to it. The right form is on the web page. So our cloud and architecture and how our services are architected. So firstly, we have 2 active public cloud locations that you can use to process your data, to start VMs, to store data there, and other things like this. This is the CF2 or WAW3-1 and WAW3-1, and we have changed it in the last year, the convention of naming the clouds, because going with CF2, CF3, and so on wasn't very intuitive. And shortly we will be everyone will be very confused, and one didn't know which cloud is which is having which features and where it is located. That's why we switched to the geographic names, and we made the switch, but changing the name of the CF2 was complicated, and there wasn't much benefit for existing clients to changing the names of everything, so we left it as this. And each client, if he wants to, he can start in one of those 2 clouds. Those clouds are totally independent. They are in different data centers in different parts of Warsaw. If I remember correctly, there is 10 kilometers distance between those locations. So, and they have power from different providers. So they are really very resistant to each other's failures. And if you want to have an infrastructure that is just suitable to run in more than one data center, this is the way to go, to start in 2 of those. And you have to just ask the sales to start your project in the second cloud, and you will have the environment there. We moved the identity provider and the identity. When you are logging to our services, now you are logging to the key clock, which is geographically distributed. So this key clock now is, I think, in 4 locations, and more are coming. And the idea is that it will be just a pair or 3 key clock servers per location, and they always synchronize. So the identity service is independent from any geographical errors or failures. We have a new client panel and billing service, Dolores, which is centralized in one location, but it will be split into 3 or more locations in the far future. Now it is in one location, but it is not essential to run services, as you only need a cloud that you run a service on and identity provider. The billing is just a feature that you can use. We have each cloud that we develop and we let clients use has its own management interface, the Horizon panel, and is separated from other clouds. So, for example, when we'll be adding WAW3-2 Cloud, it will be separated from the WAW3-1, and the problems on one cloud won't impact the other. All our clouds has access to our central repository of EO data, and it is accessible from each and every location in the same way. And because most of the access is done by S3, this means that the some delay that is introduced here isn't that much of a problem, and we'll be distributing geographically EO data in the near future. So you will be able to access it independently from each location, and there won't be any point of failure. And each and every location has a little bit different selection of torrent services and VM flavors and so on. So we'll be adding some documentation in the next quarter to make it all very clear for the clients what's in which location, what kind of performance you should expect from each services. So this is our basic architecture. We have cloud, we have identity, we have client panel, we have management panel and the APIs for the cloud. We have EO data, and all of those are separated, and all of those are geographically distributed. So there is no single point of failure for follow all of those services, and you can basically scale and not be bound to one location failure. The future of CREODIAS DIaaS and CloudFerro clouds. So, as some of you may know, the main part of the tender for the DIaaSes and for the CREODIAS DIaaS ended in December 2021. But as you may read on our webpage, there is no danger of stopping the CREODIAS. So the CREODIAS will run mostly forever, and we have no plans to shrink the services or to stop providing the data. And I think this is something our users should know, that the end of the project from ESA doesn't mean anything for the continuing of the services. We'll be switching CREODIAS, all of the CREODIAS to the new billing. So now we have 2 billing systems, the old one that you can log in from CREODIAS website, and the new one you can log in from I will show the URL later, from the new.cloudferro.com webpage. And some clients are already switched to the new billing. We are doing the rolling switch, and before the end of the year, we'll switch every client to the new billing. We'll have only one billing service there. And the new billing service will be is ready to run independent projects in many different clouds and managing those projects. So it's very different than the old one, which is tied to the CF2 cloud. We'll be adding later this year, we want to add 2 more public clouds, one in Germany and one somewhere in Warsaw. The new Warsaw cloud will be, the main goal of this cloud is to add more capacity. So there will be space for all the projects that want to go to CREODIAS CloudFerro clouds, and the one in Germany, the main goal here is to distribute the clouds geographically. So again, more resilient and more just, when there is some connectivity issue or internet issue globally, you can still access your cloud in your environment. You are not there are not errors here. So basically just expanding the services and adding more clouds. We also want to add more EO processing as a service and products, and we are constantly experimenting and changing the EO data so that you can so the data is available for processing just from the DIAs, that you don't have to copy the data to your repository, pre-process it, and then process it. You can only you can do it in one go. We are expanding AI and GPU offer. So again, we started the new GPU offer in the WAW3-1, and we'll be adding more. And we'll be adding more services like virtual networks between different clouds, so you can connect easily and without VPN services in different clouds, and in, for example, from one cloud to the other. We are also from your location, on-premise location, or and when you want, you can connect your network to the public cloud. And we are also introducing new documentation format. So, for example, that you can it will be easier to search the documentation. It will be easier to know new things, and there is lots of work going there. If you have some specific needs or you think there is something lacking and you need more products, please email us or contact us from sales or through support. We are always happy to talk, and we want to know your needs so we can make the CREODIAS and CloudFerro better. So those are the things for the near future, and we are adding more features, more clouds, more products on a daily basis, and are expanding our services greatly. And from the user perspective, because this is something that is difference us from other clouds, because the CREODIAS is one of the only places that you can process the data from the repository directly. You don't have to order the data. Everything is available online, so you can process the data just from the repository. This is something you should know and use, as some of you are already our clients. And as organizations, CloudFerro, we are changing. So last month we became the member, finally became a member of Open Infra Foundation, of Linux Foundation, of CF Foundation. We are for some time member of Gaia-X, of Copernicus Railers, and I think there are a few organizations here missing. So we're growing, and we are becoming part of the community, which is something that we have to do if you want to build stable services and to have our say in growing open software that we are using later to build our clouds. So as we are a member of Open Infra is the owner of the Openstack, or is a foundation that's responsible for Openstack that we're using for our clouds. CEF Foundation is responsible for CEF, the engine that we use for storage. Linux Foundation, everyone knows, and Gaia-X and Copernicus and other projects are something that you probably know. We always also became a partner for NVIDIA. So we introduced in WAW3-1 GPUs, and those are normal server GPUs with all the tools that NVIDIA gives, and under the licenses you can get all the tools that NVIDIA is providing on their webpage. And again, if you have any specific needs, or you think we should expand our services there, please give me a call or quick mail, or just tell about it to support or sales, and they will forward it, and we'll be happy to introduce it. And as I said, in WAW3-1 we added the A600 GPUs, and we added it in the virtualized form. So basically the .1 VM you see here is the VM that has 1/8 of the GPU card. So this is very small, but the VM is relatively cheap for the computing power it gives you. So it is for testing or for running the models. But if you want to use the full power of the card, you can get the bigger VM. The .8 VM here has has whole card just for the VM. And again, if you want bigger flavors, because there are bigger flavors, but they are private, just reach to the sales department or to the support department, and they will give you the access to those flavors, and they will help you to get more computing power. The biggest one are currently available for all users have 4 GPU A6000 cards, and we are experimenting with A100 cards, so quite powerful ones. The most powerful they are, I think. And the biggest one we are doing experiments or using in some projects are the servers with 8 GPU cards. So again, you can get a server if you sign a contract with us with 8 A100 GPUs, which is one of the most powerful setups there is, and you can train any model you like on those servers. And while talking to the users, I think the bottleneck here starts to be the bandwidth to storage and to bandwidth to the repository, and not the GPU, the power of the GPU card. So again, those are very powerful machines. And as I said before, with those GPUs, we give ready NVIDIA images, OS images with NVIDIA tools for the most popular systems. If you need any other setup, or for example, you need different OS with NVIDIA tools, reach the support or to the sales, and they will forward the request to us, and we'll add more if the configuration is available, because again, those are NVIDIA tools and they don't work on anything as good as you should know. And for the, let's say, immediate future, for the WAW3-1 Cloud, we want to add in the near future, and by near future, I mean July or August, if something once is more complicated than we think now. We want to add the Windows Power operating systems, so you can start Windows there. It's not available at this moment. We want to add those Earth observation enriched tools, OSs again. Those are not available. We want to enable two-factor authentication for all our users. Currently, it's being tested, and it is used in production, I think, only in one of our deployments, but it will be, we think it is ready, and we'll be rolling this upgrade soon. So expect an email from us that we'll be adding two-factor authentication to all of our services. And as on the WAW3-1, there is Kubernetes as a service. We are constantly upgrading and improving this service. In the next 1 or 2 months, we'll be adding there will be more improvements to scaling, as this is the biggest issue, because we have very big targets of scaling the cluster to 100 of VMs. It's not, we're not there, but I think we'll be able to pass the barrier and to give you the service. So we'll be able to scale to hundreds of pods. We'll be adding GPU support for the Kubernetes as a service. So again, you'll be able to launch very quickly GPU-powered Kubernetes and start the tools there. And there are some user experience improvements there. So again, you will be able to run the cluster faster and easier and in more reliable way. So this is the roadmap for the next 1 or 2 months. And on all our platforms, because this is not only WAW3-1 but also our private clouds and hybrid clouds deployments. If you need multi-GPU servers, more tools, AI or IO tools, you need bigger servers, or you need just private and hybrid cloud solutions, so connecting everything together. Those solutions are out there, and we are doing those services for some of our clients. So if you need something like this, just reach to the sales guy and talk with them, and I'm certain we'll be able to even do something like the DIAS just for yourself. So you'll get your private DIAS with your own data collection, cloud storage, and so on and so forth. Those are standard private cloud solutions. So again, those are products that are available and out there, but not all our customers know what's going on there. New billing panel. The new billing panel is already working for some of the clients. This is the address. If you don't have an account there, you can just go there and push create the account, create your account, create your tenant account, and there connect to and then ask sales to start to give you some credits or to order some credits or to start some agreement, and you will be then able to access CF2 and access WAW3-1 Cloud if you want, or you can ask sales to move your existing project from old billing to the new one, and you have the access to the new billing service. And the new cloud has this our new horizon. This new horizon will be, I think, will be moving in the same way as the Keycloak is moving. So as the identity provider is moving, so we'll be having a horizon that is geographically distributed, and you select which cloud you want to connect, and if there is some failure or something isn't working, the load balancer just selects which horizon you use, and you log into the cloud. So those are the things that we are going for the future. And basically, connecting to the new cloud is very easy. So those 1, 2, 3 register, get funds, or get instance working, and then get start your VMs, Kubernetes, or something like this, and you'll be ready there to go. And it comes to my attention and some of my colleagues that there are some differences, of course. This is very newer cloud, and we have some differences between the old cloud and the new cloud. And one of the topics here that I need to show you is the differences between those two clouds, because this is not something that is very, let's say, very easy to understand. So basically, this is the table, and I will go point by point to have what kind of this has an impact, what kind of impact is for you. So the first thing, underlying network. The old cloud, I think, is 6 years old, something like this, and it was built on 2 times 10G or 4 times 10G or n times NG, depending on the compute server or the storage server backbone network. And of course, sometimes the network was the limitation for some of the projects, or if we have the compute server connected by 2 times 10G or 4 times 10G, if one VM tries to download the 40G, there is some limitation here. So the new cloud has 2 times 25G connectivity, and for the clients, it basically means you have 2.5 more performance there in terms of bandwidth to internet, to the storage, or to other VMs. And this is obviously some big improvement here. New cloud is based on the newer version of OpenStack. So CF2 Spike. at its base, and new WAW3-1 is usury. And this means that you have some new features and lots of improvements and stability improvements in the new cloud. So all the tools and features, and if you see something in the usury release that you want to use and it's not there, just ask. Maybe it's only a matter of turning something on that we didn't think was useful in the OpenStack, but it has some uses. The old cloud had built in and managed by us application catalog, but it was very crude and it wasn't widely used. And there were just a few clients using it for very small purposes. So we dropped the support for the application catalog for now. But I know I think in the third quarter, we'll be adding the application catalog for the Kubernetes. So you'll be able to deploy pods, ready-to-use pods with some applications, very easy to Kubernetes as a service. And then we'll be adding the application catalog for the whole of the cloud, but it will be done I think in the next year. Again, this is not something that was widely used. So for the time being, there will be only the ready system images or services provided from the cloud and on VMs, but there will be no ready to deploy applications. There are application credentials features available in WAW3-1 that was missing in CF2. This is basically a tool that lets you generate a token for application that will use this token to authenticate to the clouds. It has some uses in some deployments. And WAW3-1 has the new load balancers, and those are multi-flavored balancers. I think there are three flavors, and each one of those flavors is in single tenant on high availability. Let's call it flavor. So from the user points of view, there are sort of 6 flavors, from very small load balancer, just 1 core, 1 gigabit of RAM. I think even if it's this small, it's capable of moving 100 or 300 megabytes per second, or even more, depending on the package size. So even if it's that small, it may be usable. And the biggest one, I think, has 8 cores. So it's not, from our test, there are no limits to the packets, or it's limited by the underlying network, not by the size of the load balancer. So if you have a very simple project and you don't need a lot of load balancing, or it is for very simple service and there are just few packets per second, you can use the very small one. Or if you are testing something, you can use a non-high-level built load balancer, because there is no need. If something fails, you can just rebuild the project, and this will drop your costs significantly. The next thing is Kubernetes as a service. So the WAW3-1 has a Kubernetes as a service. Every client can run its own cluster. Deployment is relatively fast. So for a small cluster, starting the cluster should take something about 5 to 10 minutes. In those times, they will be creating the masters, the slaves, networks, so on and so forth, including the load balancer. It is on production of WAW3-1. And the old cloud didn't have this feature. There was some way, of course, there were many ways, of course, to deploy the Kubernetes there, but nothing automated that was supported by us. The firewall as a service on CF2, it was built into the OpenStack. Now it is OpenSense backed, and the same is for the VPN. So there is a way and instructions how to use those services, but it was deployed from the application catalog, not from the cloud itself. And again, it wasn't widely used, and no one really used this. This is the most advanced firewall. This is not something very simple. The very simple solutions are built into the OpenStack. The horizon in the CF2, there was a local high availability horizon panel, but in the new cloud, the horizon is geographically distributed across many different zones, so there is no real way for this service to stop working. There are many servers across different regions that are providing this service, and the same thing is for identity provider. So we think our new identity provider is, I think, in the 2 orders of magnitude too big for our needs at this moment, and it's capable of providing tens of thousands of clients per hour, and we don't have this kind of load, but we designed it to be resilient, and so that it won't be failing. The next big change is S3 multi-tenancy. So the lack of multi-tenancy is something that you want, and it is good. Multi-tenancy for S3 basically means that in the old cloud, each customer could have its own bucket names, but if you access the S3, you have to provide the ID of the client in the path to the bucket. When you drop the multi-tenancy, the path only must contain the name of the bucket, but the buckets have to have unique names for each of the buckets in the whole cloud. This is something that is this is the way the S3 is moving and growing, and it is something that the AWS or other providers are going this direction, and they are dropping the support for multi-tenancy, and we are going the same way. So in the WAW3-1, the S3 is closer to the distribution, to the S3 that you see on AWS, and all of the new tools will work with it. The next thing is, this doesn't different both of the clouds, but it's something that you should know, the GPU pass-through. So pass-through is basically a way in which the system gets access to the GPU. So you can get the GPU to the system in many different ways. Pass-through is that the virtual machines just gets only an unlimited access to the PCI device, GPU card, for example. So from the client point of view, it gives the client must have all the drivers for the card installed on its virtual machines, but there is no or very, very little overhead. I mean, 1 or 2% in performance. That's more or less the noise out there. Okay, so this feature is available on both locations, but the WAW3-1 gets the VGPU. The VGPU is basically we virtualize the GPU. We are doing is we are cutting the GPU in the same in some slices. Every VM gets a slice of the GPU. There is no overcommitment here, so you get your resources and you are not sharing them with anyone, and there is no fight for the resources. This is something that you can use to drop the costs of the GPU down, and you are then able to for example, run a model or do some testing or anything like this on those small virtualized GPUs. So this is the way to share GPUs between different clients, and it is something economically very good. And from the client perspective, you just get the VM with the GPU. It's normal GPU with all the functions you need for doing some computations. The next feature is local storage. Local storage is normally with all our VMs you get a network storage. Network storage is very resilient, distributed, but it's network, so introduce some latency. And with local storage, you get local storage is placed inside the compute server. So it is very, very close to the VM. The performance is, and latency is an order or two orders of magnitude greater than any network storage can provide in the terms of IOPS. But it has one flaw. It is located in the VM, and because it is located in the VM, when the compute server VM runs on has crashed, or there is some kind of network problems, you usually lose all the data on the storage. So this kind of storage is, for example, very good when you want to have a drive for processing data that you need to cache some data, or you have a data that you can lose because you have it distributed on many drives like this, and one drive isn't crucial for you, and data from each drive can be later recovered if it's lost on one drive. And it is cheaper than normal storage in terms for price per performance. So this is a feature that you want for some of the workloads. And this is available in CF2 and will be available, I think, in the next 2 months on WAW3-1. The hardware is there. We are doing the last improvements, and we want to add it and give it to you, to the clients. And the difference, I think, here is that in WAW3-1, you will get all the features that other VMs have. So, for example, there will be possibility to migrate from one to the other. There will be possibility to migrate from one copy to the other. So in the CF2, if you have to do the live migration, you basically can't. You have to shut down the VM, move it to another computer, copy the data, and then restart it. In WAW3-1, you will be able to do something like this. There will be, of course, some little drop in the performance, but live migration is always fun and easy. And the last thing is capacity. The capacity for CF2, well, CF2 is almost full. That's, I think, 15% more or less, depending on which service we're talking about, capacity left. The WAW3-1 is almost empty. So it has all, in terms of storage performance and VM performance, for some time you will see for, I think, extended period of time, there will be lots of free capacity, so there is no danger of running out of resources. Because if you are, well, the cloud is someone else's computer, I mean, here it is our computer. So if you, for example, come in the very busy day and you say, I want to start 1,000 VMs, sometimes you get an answer, no, you can't, because we run out of resources to run those VMs. At this moment, you have to wait. And this will only increase in time, so it is better to start new project of WAW3-1 and don't do it on CF2. It depends on the project, but the general idea is like this. How to start with WAW3-1? As I said, 3 easy steps. Register on new CloudFerro.com or ask support on sales to do this for you. Get some credits or contracts for resources and start a project. You can start a project through the billing. So basically, you can do register even now. So you have to contact the sales or support how to get resources in terms of economical resources. So move credits from the old billing, or use the get some contract to test and to move your resources there. Scaling on the WAW3-1. So when you try to use any infrastructure, really, there are always some prerequisites. So remember about those, because there are I just even can't count times how many times someone was blocked because of those, just 4 basic things. So you have to have a project started on the cloud to be able to do anything there. You have to have a quota set. You can just, when you log into the Horizon panel, you see the quota, and sometimes your quota is not sufficient to run your project, or your quota is not sufficient to run a Kubernetes cluster. Remember that underneath the Kubernetes cluster, there are master VMs and there are slave, there are worker nodes, and you just have to have resources to run those VMs. You have to have an SSH caper added to the OpenStack, so automatization work, and you will be later able to log into the cloud. And it's really best to do some network planning, address planning before you start anything, so you know how you will connect everything. Because we give you the tools, but starting the VMs is something very much different. And when I talk to our teams, there are a few things that there are ways to do a large-scale operation, easy way and hard way. So the easy way is to, I think, from my point of view, to do your processing, do it on CREODIAS, because CREODIAS has this very big data repository that you can use and use it instantly. The easier way to do the processing is to use the tools that are there and the scripts that are there. So don't try to reinvent, search for something that someone already done, and use this. You have to understand the limits of the infrastructure of Kubernetes, virtual machines, networks, and performance of the storage. So basically, it's not like that you are running your projects on the mystical clouds. There are only servers on network and storage underneath everything on this. And sometimes the clients try to scale projects or demand from the projects the performance that the cloud cannot bring. So how to check the limits, you can ask us for the documentation, but if you're running a big project, do the short pilot and test everything. So test the performance of the VMs for your workloads, because we provide the power, the computing power, RAM, and so on and so forth. But the performance under your load may be very different from everything that you planned, and there may be some limitations, or we have to improve some things that will benefit you. Automate everything, deployment and tests. So you'll be able to check everything and check it again, and again. When you are doing the automatization, measure everything and monitor everything, so you'll have the data for the later. For example, if you later give us any data info about some performance lacking, or that you need to have more, for example, storage performance in the terms of bandwidth of I/O, it is very helpful if you give us information about the test you ran and the detail log, what was and when was it done, because we can then compare it to our logs, to our understanding of the infrastructure, and we can improve upon it or give you the information, though that those are the limits of the infrastructure and nothing more can be expanded here. The next thing is that you should know what is your current bottleneck. And by this I mean that you have to understand why you cannot get, which component stops you from getting more performance. Is it network bound? Is it compute bound? Is it storage bound? Is your data the limit for reading and doing more? So knowing the bottlenecks and communicating them to us, so we understand better your needs, help us improve the infrastructure, improve cloud, and to run everything faster. The next step to how to scale faster is to know how to recover from the failure. So failure happens. The cloud is not a magic place, it's just a very complicated compute environment with very many fail-safes, tests, automatization, and so on and so forth, but everything breaks, and your computing also can break. So you have to have a scenario how do you get from everything's broken to everything works fine again. So you can deploy faster, change faster, and recover faster. This will also help you to change something in the future faster. And there's also one way, so don't do your own out observation processing, but ask us for the service. We are expanding our services in a way that we are doing your processing as a service. We are not trying to understand always what we are doing, but we have all the workflows there, and we do large-scale processing of the your data. So we can also process what you want and give you the end results, and you only order us to give you the end results then, and not the whole process. So this is sometimes easier, just order the processing from us. So thank you very much, and see you soon. I hope on the next webinar.